kinds of challenges with so much of that, that, you know, I really encourage towns, particularly those with maybe some less resources, to look at the most sustainable improvements that they can make, the things that aren't going to require a lot of maintenance. So, you know, it's real popular to do murals, for example. Well, murals require maintenance. So if the town doesn't have resources pulled back for maintenance of murals, I don't encourage them to do murals, for example.
Well, and we did benches, but those were all donated.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But going back to a statement that you had made earlier, given yes, we are unique, and this is why Tony and I was encouraging the board at the last meeting, you know, to take that a step further. I mean, as long as we have involvement from a representative from each district that comes to the table each month and gives, that's why I was encouraging everyone to give a report on the needs of your district, I think we can go through like that, because yes, we are different and unique, but it's going to take the representative from that district to let us know what's going on in your district, because going back to what Liz said, this is a very large and unusual district, and you can't expect one individual to know all the needs of that group.
Not with 300 businesses or whatever the number, and buildings, you know, and that many more buildings. It's just impossible.
On Depot Street, believe it or not, there are a lot of historical buildings down there.
Yeah.
There really are.
Yeah.
But I think that'd be a way to keep it like it is.
Yeah.
I think it's very important for our town to really keep it like it is.
The whole dynamics of our board is useless. And what we've built on and what we've done is, you know, what we worked toward.
Now, and please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not saying that anything that you've done is useless, and I hope you don't think that. I hope that's not your takeaway from tonight. What I am encouraging you to look at, though, is the needs of the different areas and make sure that your programs are catered to those needs. And whether it's under the Main Street program or whether it's under separate boards that feed into a greater board, there's lots of ways to structure that. I'm not saying there's one size fits all by any stretch of the imagination. But typically, when you have districts like Depot and Highland Street that have a different set of needs than a traditional Main Street kind of program. And that's what I'm encouraging you to look at, is the resources that you have available, the needs of those districts, the programs that you have in place. Do they marry up, or do they need some tweaking and some that's all I'm encouraging you to do. I'm not telling you that anything you've done is useless by any stretch of it. Nothing in downtown development work is useless. Nothing is. So please don't think I'm saying that.
What we were looking for, you know, these projects and all, where, of course, 441 is right. You reach one point and they turn right. Of looking at all our major intersections and working on those.
Well, and you mean with wayfinding?
Or
with wayfinding?
Well, the wayfinding, but beautification and because those are the first things you see. And then, of course, the banners all leading.
Is there a town beautification committee or board? Well, that might be a way to address that. Maybe that's, instead of through the Main Street program, maybe that's a new town board. I mean, that's typically a beautification kind of program.
It's just generally whoever complains the loudest. I don't know if y'all noticed or not, but the DOT did clean the concrete median coming into Franklin, finally. You know the one I'm talking about? It finally got mostly clean today. Yes. Yeah.
One thing that, you know, I think we all know we need is a restaurant on Main Street, or several restaurants on Town Hill, in the Town Hill district. I mean, you go to Clayton, which is just 20 miles away. You go to Highlands, 14 miles away. You go to Silva, 20 miles away. And at night, the town is booming. It's alive. At 6 o'clock, you drive down the Town Hill district and everything is closed. We've got to have something to get people downtown. I mean, it's not going to be Martha's shop that sells gifts. I love it, but I'm not going to go in there at 7 o'clock at night or Anna Vidal's, or I'm trying to just name shops as I'm looking, you know, gift shops. We've got to have somewhere to go to socialize and to, we can't, our town it's amazing. We've got this beautiful town and there's nothing to do in the Town Hill district.
So most most restaurants need, you know, on average 1,500 to about 3,500 square feet to successfully make it today. Do you have buildings that are available currently that kind of fit that
We
size?
have one restaurant, when are they coming in? Ken, Ken and Britt were both in the shop this week, so it should be,
They're working on
yeah, so there will be one.
Okay. So if that's a goal for you, for your Main Street organization, that falls under economic restructuring. Again, you have to then look at the building stock that's available, the incentive programs that you might have that are available, the types of restaurants that you need. Do you have market data? Do you have opportunity to serve an additional restaurant? Can they financially make it, in other words? And then start to put those pieces together. So years ago, Morganton, which actually didn't have any downtown restaurants at this point in time, now they've got several, decided that they needed a restaurant, and they put together a package. The city happened to own a building at that point in time, or they purchased one, and they put together a financial incentive package, a revolving loan program, in fact, to recruit a restaurant. And that was the jump start for additional restaurants in their downtown. Does it take money? Yeah. Can you find the money? Sometimes you can. But you got to have that good plan in place. And if that's a goal for you, I would encourage you to put together the program to make that happen. Yeah. Can be done. We'll be glad to help you with that. Yes.
Okay, I have a restaurant on Main Street, and I have a banquet room that sits 100 people. But the fire inspector has created some situations that I can't afford to fix. So can I get some help with that?
With the fire marshal?
Well, I have to widen the staircase, I have to do a ramp in the back of the shop.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, I use the room for weddings and things like that.
Yeah.
We want to open it up as a nightclub. So basically, it's just on Friday nights at my upstairs, street level, we have entertainment on Friday nights.
Let me turn the lights on. Go ahead.
One of the big problems we're having was the ALE laws, the ABC laws.
Yeah.
They're hindering.
Right.
They were fine right after Prohibition,
Yeah.
but Prohibition's gone.
Right.
And
so
I've
I've been
done
told.
my part to make sure Prohibition's gone. But really and truly, we have regulations at the state level that are killing
Yeah.
programs like we're talking about.
Right.
Oh, well, I won't get onto that.
We could certainly help you in looking at your building and looking at tax credits and looking at, incentive kind of programs. We'll be glad to help you look at that if that's what you need. But it would certainly be in partnership with the city. The town's going to be a key component of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll work with you.
Yeah. What else? The room is dwindling. Does that mean y'all are tired and want to go home?
It's been a long day.
Well, again, if you're in the Main Street program, you're in partnership with the state. We are here to assist you with whatever you need. All you have to do is call us and ask us. We'll be glad to be here. I've got staff members in Asheville that actually come through here going to Hayesville on a regular basis. And again, I'm in Raleigh, but I travel west all the time. So all you have to do is let us know what you need. We're here to help you. And that's not the state, we're here to help you. That's genuine.
I know what I missed out. Fire inspector told me I need to get an architect to decide what needed to be done before he could approve it. He wouldn't tell me.
That may very well be true, depending on the cost in investment that you have to make on that building. Yeah, that is true.
Well, the town wants to help in these things. Our hands are tied.
Yeah.
I know of one business right now that I can't put into place because of these ALE laws.
But like, can Tony get in touch with you or go
Mhm.
through Summer and
Absolutely.
see if he can get some help with this? Because
Yeah.
he's tried everything.
Yeah.
We have, when I got there was one bathroom, now there's 6,
Uh-huh.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah, what we would probably do is get our designer in Asheville and marry them up with the State Historic Preservation Office. It's a historic building.
I don't think it is.
Is it more than 50 years old?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We'd probably get them over here together to take a look at that for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, because something, I mean, it would be such a help, not just to Tony, but to the whole town.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like right now, 76 does music on Thursday, I do it on Friday,
Uh-huh.
Raskellers does it on the weekends.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, we're trying to get something going, but
Sure. Sure. Absolutely.
now and I have bands that want to play for free downstairs,
Mm-hmm.
just for tips,
Yeah.
because it accommodates 100 people.
Yeah.
Would you like me to email you Tony's information, then you two could kind of touch?
Sure.
Is that okay, Tom?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. That's fine.
so when, we do weddings and parties and meetings, but to get the beverage license downstairs to attract the people in there
Yeah.
is, we need to get over this next hurdle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I understand. I used to own a restaurant in my former life too. It's challenging. I don't want to be in that business, so my hat's off to you. What else can I help you with tonight? I would say, is that 7:15? I thought it was ever after 8. Apparently I can't read a clock anymore. What can I help you with?
Will you talk a little bit about the importance of committees? I know we kind of did a good refresher.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So the committees, if you think about what can a staff member and a board of, how big's your board?
Not 10 members, if I'm not mistaken.
10 members? Okay, how much can a staff member and 10 members get done versus how much can 50 committee members get done? Right? The more people, the more things that you can do, certainly. So that's why we create committees under the Main Street program. That and for community building. Because the committees build community. People feel like they have a part and a role in that. So again, most often nonprofits start at the top and drill down. In other words, the board establishes committees and often it stops there. What I would encourage you to do is flip it around. So develop all the tasks that you need to do to accomplish all your goals. And then those tasks form into the jobs for committee members and those jobs, So in other words, you get somebody that volunteers to do a task and they do a really good job, they might become a new promotions committee member for you. And they're really good at that, they might become the chair. And they're really good at that, they might become a new board member. And then they might become a new officer. And you're building a tier system from the bottom up. Okay? Now, again, why we have committees, though, is because we need to get that work done. You've got this annual plan, and it's got, we usually encourage 3 or 4 strategies at the most per point of Main Street. So that is 12 or 14 strategies. That's a lot of work for a Main Street manager and a board of 10. But then you spread that out by task to those committee members, and suddenly you've got 50 people that want to participate and do the work. And they feel very connected to it. So as much as anything, it's about getting that work done. That's why we have the committees. Is it more to manage? Yes. Do you need to keep minutes? Yes. Is it worth it? Yes. I've managed committees for over 20 years in my career, and I've never had a bad committee. I probably had 1 or 2 bad committee members from time to time through that time. Couldn't even name them right now to you. But there's always somebody that won't show up to the meeting or won't do what they say they're going to do. You learn from that, and you don't assign them the task that they can't do. And you give them the out that if they can't serve on the committee because of, family crisis, that they have an out, but they can still be involved. They might take something that, takes 2 hours to do in a year versus a committee that's an hour a month, for example. The other thing that committees do, and particularly the task do, is it expands the ability to get a more diverse group involved. So, in other words, I've got a whole slew right now of young Main Street managers. They're in their 20s. I call them the youngins. They're the up-and-coming Main Street managers. Technologically very savvy, are just heads, they're spinning the heads of the older Main Street managers that just don't understand Facebook and Tumblr and Twitter and everything else. But you know, they're really good at getting volunteers that are willing to, that, again, they trust, you know, it's all that trust, that can post Twitter feeds for them at 10 o'clock at night. Or that can go out on a Saturday morning and take Tumblr photos and post it on their Tumblr website, which is all social media. It's all social media. But they're really good at expanding that 20-something group of volunteers up to the 70-year-old volunteer group. And that's what it takes. Main Streets aren't about the 50-year-olds like me anymore. It's about the diversity of ages. And we've got to find the task that's going to be of interest to them, the committees that are going to be of interest to them, the things that really excite them so that they feel like Main Street is their Main Street. I worked in Lexington. It was by far the best Main Street town that I worked in my career. And in part, we had well over 100 volunteers. We had a strong board and a waiting list to get on the board every single year. I was there because it was fun. It was fun. People wanted to be a part of that. And I don't know if you have that kind of system in place here in Franklin right now, but if you don't, I really encourage you to do that. Again, we can help train the board to create that system if you don't already have it in place. We can help you with that. But you want the teenagers and the 20-somethings to feel like it's their downtown. I was actually on vacation, and you know, I take weird vacations and go to little small towns. I don't go to cities for vacation or the beach even. And I went to this town called Madison, Georgia. Have you ever been there? Yeah. Madison was exploding. I've never seen so many people, and it was kids on skateboards that were completely welcomed in that downtown, to, again, kids walking around with their friends and eating ice cream, to tourists, obviously tourists, doing all kinds of things. And I think it was a Thursday or a Friday that I was there, but I actually walked in the visitor center and I said, "Why is your downtown so busy?" And they said, they laughed and they said, "It's always like this." How awesome is that? And it's clear that it's a downtown for all, for everyone. They all feel very welcomed there. I'm not saying yours isn't. I'm saying if it's not, then you should strive for that. That's a pretty awesome thing to have in your downtown.
But to push that a little further, you had made an interesting discussion with Tony and I earlier. Like, we all look at the model of Greenville, but tell the backstory of Greenville. This amazes me.
Greenville's a great story. Greenville, I actually knew the mayor of Greenville, God, 25 years ago maybe. A guy named Bill Woodruff that was the mayor down there. And Bill was a great downtown speaker. You know, I mean, he would motivate anyone. And the story that he told back then was, you know, downtown Greenville developed a plan 25 to 30 years ago, a master plan. And at that point, if you know Greenville at all, you know that the river was not accessible, was not a place that you wanted to go. But they had a vision. They said, you know, this is a kind of a cool asset. I wonder what we could do with this. And they developed this master plan around the river and the connectivity of the traditional Main Street down to the river. And even back 20, 25 years ago, I remember Bill talking about, we envision a performing arts center and a museum and a this and a that. And you know, you've all been to Greenville, you know that strip from, I can't remember if it's the Hyatt or the Hilton that's on one end of Main Street, down to the river. It's one asset after another. But, you know, most people that go to Greenville think it happened like that. And I'm here to tell you, it didn't happen like that. It happened with a very thoughtful master plan, like you mentioned earlier, and then strategically taking each piece of that plan each year put in the resources, financial and human resources, to get the job done. And it's a phenomenal downtown, no doubt about it. In fact, it was just voted as you know, Franklin should never strive to be a Greenville, and Greenville's not going to strive to be a Franklin. You have different assets, and you should really look at what those assets are.
We'll never be a Greenville.
Yeah, well, I don't mean simply in population.
Yeah,
I mean in assets. But you've got Appalachian Trail, you've got the river, you've got historic, very simple but beautiful two-story brick historic structures. You've got a mix of businesses that is unique to Franklin. You know, tell me some other assets. What are your assets?
You've got a corridor from Atlanta to Tennessee.
Absolutely. Well, what are these assets? What are they? I mean, that's an important connectivity point. But what are the assets? What makes this downtown unique? What's different about this downtown from Silver, or Hayesville, or Bryson City, or Gillsboro?
But a greenway that's great.
Greenway, absolutely. Absolutely.
We're so close to the Appalachian Trail.
Absolutely. And yet, the first time I came here as a state coordinator, I remember Linda telling me this story about a business that had I guess a motel maybe for Appalachian Trail, and he would take his bus or van up on the trail and pick up people at a certain point and bring them down. They could spend the night, get cleaned up, get groceries, come up on Main Street. And we saw a ton of people when I was here for that trip. They were up on Main Street eating lunch or drinking coffee, and they just come off the trail. And they were talking, we engaged them in conversation. They were talking about what an awesome experience it was to come off the trail for a few days and, you know, sort of become a human being again, so to speak, with a hot shower. Amazing the things that, you know, you believe in after you've been on a trail. But that's a huge asset for you, certainly. What else? Artisans, musicians, unique things that set your downtown apart. That's what you want to look for.
Our Performing Arts Center.
Performing Arts Center. Is it in downtown?
No, it's out of town, but it pulls everywhere.
Still a draw. So then it's a retail sales opportunity, a cross promotional opportunity between the Performing Arts Center and the downtown businesses. So they come in for, again, dinner and a show. You want them eating downtown and then going out to the show.
Yeah, big shows.
Yeah, exactly. What else? What are your assets?
The 3 museums.
3 museums in downtown?
Yes.
You're the center of museums, and for Franklin, for whatever, for the region. That's part of your vision. What do those museums need in order to be the most successful? Do they need additional retail, restaurants? Do they need other services? Do they need hotels? What else do those businesses need to be successful? That's how Main Street works. It's those connectivity points and then developing programming around those. You'd think I've had caffeine. I'm talking fast.
We're just getting excited.
You are. You are, absolutely. What else? What are your assets?
Ruby Mine.
Ruby Mine. Do you still do, can you still Ruby Mine here? I had heard you couldn't. I didn't think there were rubies
There's a lot
left.
more of them are salted than anything.
Okay.
But that's still good.
Well, that's what Franklin was always known for years ago when I was a little tiny kid.
I think, well, like you said, the river, but I think they're just putting that new access, new powers putting that new access in.
Man, it's nice too.
That's it.
Yeah.
And it's gonna open up a lot, I think, on the
Yeah.
river. And I look for some of the restaurants down there to build out.
Absolutely. I'm surprised they haven't already, actually. Yeah. So, you know, towns that have river access, they're doing all kinds of boating activities, you know, again, for you know, general family recreation, surely, but they're also doing promotions around those, whether it's a boat run, some sort of a boat run or a rubber duck regatta, or, I mean, it's just wide open. They're doing all kinds of things. One town is bringing Santa in on the river by boat. You know, it's just wide open. They're doing all kinds of things. And certainly the Greenway paths build that connectivity for the river. Yeah. A lot of our downtowns unfortunately have rivers. And those that don't want to flood their downtowns to get a river. Not
We're
literally.
still small enough that we're safe.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
I know it's my grandchildren.
Sure.
When they're here, when they're both here. When the girls, they can walk uptown
Yeah.
and visit all the places.
Yeah. And go shopping.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's a huge asset. You know, Burlington, the food co-op that I showed you, Burlington identified that they were the 6th largest agricultural producer in the state, Alamance County actually, but they had absolutely no place that you could buy fresh produce. So their vision was to create that food co-op in the old Piggly Wiggly A&P that that I showed you in one of those first early pictures. And again, it's been the catalyst for business development all up and down that street. I mean, it's just an incredible asset that they now have.
We had a feasibility study where all the driving theater was about a farmer's market. I have not heard of it.
Does anybody know what's out there to do that? I know they were talking about it. Can't think of
And they did.
They talked about it, I don't know what they're doing.
Now again, farmers markets are huge. There's grant money for farmers markets available from several sources, in fact, and have been a tremendous draw for many, many, many of our downtowns through the years.
That's the only thing.
Farmers markets, yeah.
Salisbury has a really nice one.
Salisbury does have a nice one.
I don't know.
Oh, I'm not
That's a
sure. I
great
think
building, sheds.
not Salisbury.
We went to in Georgia.
Yeah, we went to Anderson, South Carolina.
Andrew, I mean,
Uh-huh.
Anderson,
They have
yeah.
one.
Yeah,
I looked at it.
yeah. Reidsville's got a really nice one. There's Marion's got a really nice one. How can I help you? What's the best way I can help you?
Advice, you kind of know, you've been with this group from the beginning. You know our struggles. We've met with the board on numerous occasions. Where do we, you talked with Tony and I today. Where do we go from here?
Well, I think, again, you set up a program that's the foundation for best practices. So you look at your organization and make sure that it's operating the way it needs to operate, that you've got the committees, they're meeting on a monthly basis, that you have that plan of work, that you have a good vision, mission, et cetera, that you have that planning document or structure in place. Because all that does is serve as the foundation to accomplish those projects under design, promotions, and economic restructuring. I think that you measure the impact of everything that you're doing, that communication, massive key, and most overlooked, as I said earlier, that you establish a communications plan and you actively communicate on a regular basis the success stories that you have. Because as I said earlier, if you're not telling that story, somebody else is going to be telling that story for you. And you need to control that message a little bit. That you deal with the challenges that you have as they occur. That you have, again, a system in place to assess the needs and create the programs and be creative about the programs to address those needs. So that things don't get slipped by you. I don't know what to tell you, except that's how Main Street works. Main Street works best when it's a very, very thoughtful process. There's a lot of our programs today that, as I mentioned earlier, that are just doing promotion, they're just doing design, they're just doing this, that, or the other. Those aren't Main Street programs. That's not an effective Main Street program. They may be operating in the day in Main Street, but they're all trying to get back to that balanced 4-point kind of program to really address the needs of their communities. Main Street's not a program about projects, it's about programming, it's about that comprehensive leveraging that I talked about early on. So if you do have that in place, I applaud you. Yeah. We're here to help you. We're in partnership with you. You haven't called me a whole lot. I've only been here twice in the last 6 years. And you all have certainly come to meetings and things like that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying you've participated, but there's a lot more that we can do to help you.
Thank you.
I don't think we're at a place where we need that.
We
Yeah,
realize
we
we
were
need that.
sorry.
What's the biggest challenge that you think you're having?
Mhm.
What's the issue that name one issue? I mean, Summer's right. I've heard some things, we've had conversations, but from the board, tell me what the biggest issue is that you're dealing with.
Cooperation,
Cooperation with,
everybody, and not from the board.
Uh-huh.
from the
they don't
town.
feel included, or they don't feel that it's in the
I've only
process.
been involved a short time, so I shouldn't say a whole lot, but
Uh-huh.
as far as membership or, people involved besides board members,
Yeah,
I don't see a lot of that either.
Yeah,
They're coming
yeah.
to us to help, to just volunteers,
Uh-huh.
the word volunteers.
yeah, to all aspects, like I
Right.
said, of tasks and committees and board, et cetera.
Because the board here is very knowledgeable.
Mhm. Sure.
They have all been involved and know everything about what's going on.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of, it'd be good, the growth that we could get from people coming in would be our best asset, I think.
Mhm.
The merchants are sort of burned out. So
Yeah.
much stuff was going different ways, and I talk to them now, and it's like they're not even interested.
The merchants,
Yeah.
uh-huh,
So I'm telling them that we've got a new structure going on, we're gonna start doing this and that.
yeah.
I'm trying to get the input, but it's like the merchants, it's like, I don't even wanna know what's going on anymore.
Hmm. Well, that's a shame. Communications really is a key to that, and, you start with what you can manage, and you start adding what you can manage. But you don't take on more than you can manage, is what I'm saying in that. But it's one small step at a time. It's that incremental process that I mentioned earlier. The only way things are gonna change is to get more people involved and on board. That's a fact.
Well, I think too, if we continue to, it won't be long, we're going to continue, even some beautification,
Mhm.
that does make an impact.
Mhm.
And if we can get some of these intersections,
Mhm.
complete, so that's what we need to do, is to complete an intersection.
Mhm. Yeah.
That will make a statement, and will say, gosh, they are doing something.
Yeah. My question would be, again, is that the best use of this board's time, or should the town create a beautification committee, which is most often where that falls? Or are there financial resources, grants to do some of that, to lessen the financial impact?
The state would work with this.
But they wouldn't pay for it.
They'll give us, they help a lot.
Mhm.
They've helped, so do some things for us down here.
Well, certainly the poles and that kind of thing, yeah.
Well, not just poles, but plants and stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Through DOT?
Pardon?
Through DOT? Okay, good.
We have some really good people that
Mhm.
really help us. And they planted all our rivets and stuff down there.
Good, good. You're getting more resources from the state than a lot of towns.
Well, we don't know how.
Whose arm are
we
you
don't know
twisting,
how.
Sissy?
Pardon?
Whose arm are you twisting?
They have been really good to us about that.
Uh-huh.
But I think if we could get an area completed, I
Yeah.
think that would help.
Uh-huh.
To do, even though, and I think probably at this point in time, Main Street would have to do it.
Uh-huh.
Then, get more people involved and
Uh-huh.
you are doing something and this is what's happening,
Yeah.
instead of bickering about something.
Well, that didn't help at all.
Or simply just going back to the basics.
Yeah.
And that's what Tony and our theme kind of was the other night, was get people, let's go back, let's see what the Main Street program is. there's several members on this board who's been there from the very beginning.
Mhm.
Let's get that momentum building again to project that throughout the community and do those projects like Sissy was talking about to get that more involvement where we can actually complete that project.
Yeah.
So that's what my thought would be moving forward in the next 6 or 7 months, is going back to the basics and just kind of giving a breath of fresh air to this program.
Yeah, yeah, we're certainly here to help you do that. Yeah, absolutely. And again, going back to the basics for us, and our recommendation to you would start with the assessment piece. Again, economic drawings, community asset mapping, vision forum, mission development, resource team coming in here for several days, work plan development, budget development, stakeholder development. There's a number of pieces to that we put under that umbrella of the basics, so that you're moving forward collectively, strategically, and you can have the best impact for downtown that you can have. And we can do that for the cost of travel expenses. Design workshop, I left that out. That would be a part of the basics again. Yeah. What's the best thing that you do as a board, as an organization? What's the best project that you've had in the last 5 years?
I guess the biggest and the best part of it has been when we had no education on
Mhm.
practically.
Mhm.
And that, I mean, we worked hard on it.
Mhm.
I think the signs, Wayfair, I mean, you couldn't find a parking lot, you didn't know where the business district was.
Yeah.
I mean, any of that,
Mhm.
it really did take a long time.
Mhm.
Banners, and actually, we just don't put up a banner. It takes a lot to go through that design and all that.
Absolutely. And again, you got a big district right now, so the cost is gotta be excessive for banners, for example. I mean, that are on average $100 to $150 per banner, plus arms. Arms, once they're off, they're permanent, but well, somewhat permanent. But the cost, you know, how many banners do you probably have in the downtown? 40 something? That's a hefty
And we got
cost.
Duke Power put our poles in.
Uh-huh.
out at the intersection.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just having to work with all those people.
Sure it is. Yeah.
I think, I don't know, when I just sit here and think back, I really would love to see us be able to work with, I know saying everybody is a little out of question, but, you know, where if we just needed something, we could go to a business owner and say, hey, we need some help with this. Will you help us? Or get those committees in place, those subcommittees in place, where we are all working together and we're listening to each other, you know, because somebody's going to have a better idea, this person is going to have a better idea, or take it to another level than the next person, and just get that going and let people know what we're doing. I mean, all the things we've done, there's never been even a press release about the banners, about the benches, about
Oh, yeah.
anything we've
That's-
done. We
yeah,
don't
you've
have
got
a
to.
blog, we don't have anything
Yeah.
where
Oh,
people
you've
know
got to
what's
do that.
happening.
Yeah.
You know, or what we have accomplished.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, you got to do that.
And we have.
Unless y'all happen to do it for us.
And we have like a kiosk. We have a kiosk, we've got this to be finished. There's a list in.
Those plans that we have.
Main Street, they don't have like a
We've had,
Facebook
we need
page.
to complete them.
Something of
Yeah,
that size.
yeah.
We just started that with the Chamber of Commerce this year. We opened the, Facebook page and
Uh-huh.
a thing to go through, so
Good.
that might be something that would be good for people to, but it takes somebody smart to open those things.
We have a
We have-
Facebook page.
Yeah, okay.
We do, and we've linked it to a lot of, you know, Town Franklin, Discover Franklin, Ruby, so we do have a Facebook page. If you haven't liked it, go
If
into it,
something
click it.
happens, if we do something, though, we take pictures and put
Yes,
it on
and,
that.
and keep it up to date.
Good.
We need to work on it
Yeah.
more, so, yeah.
What's the worst project that you've done in the last 5 years? I told you my worst project, the Baroque music concert series, and in Lenore, North Carolina.
Those planters last year.
The
Give them up, they
The
died.
little ones, yeah, we thought little ones.
We spent the money on buying planters.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, well,
We planted
didn't
ourselves
plant, it was a
for
grant.
days.
Uh-huh.
We had X number of dollars,
Uh-huh.
and so we thought if we got the planters this year, all of them,
Uh-huh.
but they didn't order them.
Who's the they?
The town.
Uh-huh. Was it the town's responsibility?
Well, yes, they were supposed to.
You had an agreement with
Yeah.
it?
Yes.
So in
They
about a
popped
week,
out
they were
and
just
they did everything.
hanging up their
They
dead
were
plants,
full.
you know, oh, it's all.
They were small, they were pitiful. And this year, it started out about the same way, and Supper came in the picture and chucked all over them, and so she got that straightened out.
So they were pretty planters this year.
But the planters look so nice.
Uh-huh.
Well, you were talking about that, that's not sustainable, and you wouldn't recommend that. How do other towns do that then? Because every town I go to has the most beautiful planters.
Well, you know, Hendersonville, for example, has got probably the best planters in the state, hanging baskets and planters and things like that. But they use a portion of their municipal service district that the mayor was talking about earlier, that funding structure that goes specifically to maintain their streetscape and their planters. So, you know, again, some of them are doing that. Now, some of them certainly have agreements with the town, and the town's watering for them. When I worked in Chapel Hill, the town refused to water the planters. We had an agreement with the Boy Scout troop that happened to own, this is talking about, you know, community assets, happened to own a watering truck. And we got the water from the Water and Sewer Authority, and we had Boy Scouts on Main Street watering our planters every Saturday, I believe. But that's talk about asset mapping and figuring out what the community assets are and then structuring that. Now, I'm telling you, Franklin Street looked really good when you had a bunch of Boy Scouts out there in uniform watering planters every weekend too. So you have to really look at it again. Does the town not water because they don't want to, or because they don't have the people or the resources to do that? Maybe they don't have a watering truck. Yeah. Maybe it's an adoption program with the businesses or the property owners. They do that in different ways, is what I'm saying. It all depends on the community.
How are their planters? Are they scattered throughout town? Because you and I and Tony went and looked at ours. Are they just in a specific district or specific area? Because you had even made note of one that we saw down here on Back Street that you even commented on.
That I didn't notice,
Yeah.
because it's...
And it was in an odd place, is what you got.
Yeah, you know, again, most of our districts are not the size of this district, so they're directing their resources to a smaller footprint, and because of that, they can sometimes have a bigger impact on that. Again, you have to look at the intersections, the corners. If it's you know, an 8-lane or 4-lane, it's probably 4-lane intersections, major intersections. Do you need hanging baskets, or do you need gateway kind of landscape? Probably gateway. Yeah, you need gateway landscaping, where, you know, if you get up here on what do you call it, Town Hill?
Yeah.
Town Hill, you're going to see hanging baskets because
Right.
the streets are more narrow. And again, it's scale. It's about scale, resources, dimensions, that kind of thing. And making sure that you're directing your resources to the place that you're going to have the biggest impact. And then telling that story about why you did that. Yeah. You do. And that's what I just try to say. Everybody makes mistakes through the years. God knows I've made my share in doing Main Street for almost 3 decades now. But, you know, you learn from those mistakes, and you don't make those mistakes twice, certainly. And you figure out what works and what doesn't work in your task. And hopefully it's not too costly of a mistake, you know, so that you can recover from easily enough. Yeah, so again, you know, a town, when I said don't put your resources into non-sustainable, again, if you've got the ongoing resources to maintain your mural, or to replant your planters every year, or water them every summer, whatever it is, then that's fine. But if it's
Questionable.
if it's a grant that's not renewable, then maybe that's not the best source for that particular project. Maybe you need to redirect the grant money to a longer-term sustainable project and look for other sources that might be recurring for that.
One thing that we did, when we started with the basket, I was surprised we had merchants that bought their own baskets to go down to the shop. Some of it don't work right
So,
as a district.
There's something we didn't put up ourselves. I mean, the Main
Uh-huh.
Street program.
okay. So I see what you're saying, that the merchants took it upon themselves to buy more to spread it out. Well, that's good. That's good.
Bob, you were talking about a grant writer. Is that something that the Main Street program would be able to use too? Is that the town that you're talking
Oh,
about?
sure.
Hiring a grant writer?
Well, yeah, probably just
Or
on a contract basis.
Contract, yeah.
Certainly, yeah. I don't care who does it,
Mhm.
they just get it.
Yeah.
Anybody
Need it.
can, yeah. I think this is something that the past 20, 25 years, Franklin has not capitalized on, have been grants.
Mhm.
And I talked to Congressman Meadows about that today, about Congress has dried up. Of course, it hasn't dried up things as bad as the legislature has, but the community development block grants, they're not as plentiful as they once were at all. The Appalachian Regional Commission, that was so vital, is drying up. Everything that seems to help people is drying up.
Still, empty still.
Yeah, at the state and the federal level.
Yeah.
A little more challenging, isn't it?
Yeah, a little more challenging.
You know, the real trick to grants, honestly, is having that good, thoughtful plan in place, and there's grant money available. There is grant money available. So often, those towns that are applying for grants don't have the plan. There's no connectivity. So, you know, they ask questions like, well, why do you need this grant? Why do you want this grant? And they can't answer the question because they don't have the documents to back up that. Now, your strategic plan certainly can help you that, but having the annual plan would probably be a step further to help you get grants.
I've forgotten the ratio. It seems like good grant writers charge 3% of the money they get.
I think that's about
I
right.
believe that's what, yeah, I think it's
Yeah, I
around
haven't looked at that in a
3%.
while.
And there are grant writers that will do it if they don't get anything, you don't know what it
Yeah, and you know, the trick to a grant is really the who, what, where, why, when, and how. I mean, it's just answering those questions. You know, and answering the questions that the grant is actually asking, not just answering random questions that they, you know. But so often, I mean, we have a grant program, we read grants all the time, and so often, you know, people are answering things that we didn't ask. You know, they're just not telling us why they need the money, or what they're gonna do with it.
We appreciate you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be here, and again, we're here to help, so whatever you need, you just need to communicate with me. Summer and Tony both know how to reach me, as Linda did, but, you know, we're here to help you, so you need to communicate to us what you need, and we'll get you help that we can as long as we stay intact. And we're trying. And of course, you know, too, we've got, again, sister agency is our planning program, Appalachian Regional Program is our planning, is our sister program as well. You know, we can pull other resources from the state in too, if we need to. We just need to know what you need, and what you're looking for.
We'll let you know.
Well, let us know if you want to go back to the basics and if you want to kind of start that process. I don't think you did that when, and Sissy, you may remember, or some of you that were on the, I don't think you did that when you came back into the program in 2006, 7, or 8. Or Tony, you may know too.
What did you say, Liz? I'm
Kind of
sorry.
going back to the basics, looking at the economic drivers, community assets, the resource. I don't think you had a resource team in the.
I don't think so.
I think you did in 1990 or so, you know, late 80s or 90s. But I don't think you did when you came back into the program. So you were kind of doing a program based on what the individual community members might remember or not remember, not really a strategic planning process to put you on the right track moving forward. And again, that's kind of standard practice for us for towns coming into the program.
Right.
Since I've been the state coordinator, but I wasn't the state coordinator when you came into the
We
program.
did, when we started coming into the Main Street program, we had also at the same time, we were looking at, we don't have any money.
Yeah.
And we were looking at a master plan.
Uh-huh.
And that's where we had that. And then I can't remember which one we did it, but we had the master.
Pretty much everything else tanked.
Yeah, yeah.
And unfortunately, that happened across the board for everyone.
Yeah, yeah.
And actually had to go, some member went and even signed a note at the bank to get the money paid for the master plan and get that form.
Wow, yeah.
What we got, but it was really interesting. When we started that master plan and Main Street property, we got money from the county, the town,
A
and
lot of donations.
big bucks.
Yeah.
Because our cancer plan was money. Recycle has been out
Yeah.
That's what I was talking about.
Hey,
We'll do
hey.
it again. Things coming out.
Well, I appreciate your time and listening to me tonight.
Yes, thank you, Liz.
And I apologize for my phone, I really do.
Yeah, before you